What about your personal values? What guides you and your leadership style here?
To go with honesty first. That's what I think. You can never go wrong with being honest.
Number one, I'm always going to do what I say I'm going to do.
To me, it's all part of that authenticity and just being really who you are.
I really believe as a leader that it's not about me.
My leader, that's my boss, that's my vice president, and be proud of it. You respect them and are proud to be on that team. I think that's something that's earned.
Yeah.
I also believe in giving very direct feedback and direct with respect. I had a tendency to try to, I'm going to use the term sugarcoat feedback, all right, and paint a picture, and it made things worse.
Yeah.
Then it becomes not about you, and your focus becomes on where you're headed instead of where you've been. Because no offense, looking in the rearview mirror, it's already happened.
It sounds so easy, right? Welcome to Leadership in Manufacturing podcast, where we explore essential leadership topics in the electronics component industry. I'm your host, Sanna Winding. I'm a strategic leader with over 20 years of experience in the B2B marketing, product development, and team empowerment. I'm passionate about sharing insights. Hope you can see it. And tools to help professionals enhance their leadership skills. We just want to become better leaders, and we should have this drive. So in today's episode, we dive into the core of what shapes effective leadership, the personal values that guide our decision and our actions. I have a fantastic panel of guests. I had Toby Cornell, Rob Brunson, Mary Ellen Stack, Shane Sutz, Walter Tobin, and Don Eggery, and they all share their insights and their experience. So what are you going to learn today? You're going to gain some understanding of the core values that actually drive leadership in the manufacturing and the distribution sector. And we're exploring the role of honesty, how to foster trust, how to build a strong team. And we'll also touch about how do you overcome fear and how do you embrace direct feedback. And last one is also so important that you actually lift your head to view that bigger picture. So a lot of advice to help you become a much better leader in the industry. So enjoy this episode. Really insightful from Shane Sutz. He's the VP of Human Resources at DigiKey. And this is what he said when I asked him, what personal values guide your leadership style? To ask you, which personal values guide your leadership style? And you just said, the word human, right? But is there any other values that you can point out as saying this is really important for you?
Yeah. I think along with that is, one of the things that and it's maybe a value statement more than a value, but, I really believe as a leader that it's not about me. And I truly, again, I think it comes from my background in education. When you have kids in front of you or you're coaching a team or you're leading a school, you can't, there's a lot of people's precious property in that building, and you just can't make it about you. And so that to me is a personal kind of a value statement. The other one I thought about is fear doesn't get a vote. And that one has been really true to me throughout my career. We're going to be put in situations where we're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. We might be anxious about them. We're going to be unsure of ourselves. We're going to have imposter syndrome. These are all things you've talked about in your podcasts throughout your different episodes.
Yeah.
But where I try to lean in when I start to waver in my confidence or, hey, I'm not sure, is just tell myself, remember, fear doesn't get a vote. That's good. We're taking that off the table.
Yeah.
And so that gets me focused on the things that I know for certain, which might only be a few things, but fear is not going to be one of them. I'm not going to let that guide how I lead. I'm not going to let that guide how I work with people and not let it guide my career. So I think those along with being very clear about the makeup of my team and kind of that resiliency in leaders, I think are to me that really defines the values for me as a leader.
It sounds so easy, right? But you have to lift your head sometimes and just take that bigger view on it.
Yeah. And I think too, you do have to lift your head, because sometimes I love that you just said lift your head, because sometimes, and I've been guilty of this as much as the next leader, you have your head down. When you have your head down, you're worried about you. You're worried about the impact to you. You're worried about the change to you. But if you pick your head up and you look outward and you look for the business, or you look for the people that you serve or customers or whatever it happens to be, then it becomes not about you, and your focus becomes on where you're headed instead of where you've been. Because no offense, looking in the rearview mirror, it's already happened.
Yeah,
it
is. Yeah, and by lifting your head as well you can maybe better communicate, right? And saying this is where we're heading, and share that with everybody in the team. Because I think with leadership as well, not everybody is on the same spot of, of seeing where we're headed or the strategy. And then there can be frustration further up or in some teams, right? Because either they see it or they don't see it, but not everybody is on the same spot of saying, this is where we are right now, this is where we're going. So it's so important for a leader as well to remember that maybe they know something that not everybody knows in the team, right? Or in the organization. And you have to be sure that you come back and educate everybody, so then you can run up and be really, really fast.
Yeah. And I think, when you think about a change curve, everybody is on that. They're at a different spot on that change curve. If you want to use that as
that's a good word. Yeah.
That's, just like you said. And I think that's, again, let's go back to where we started. Sometimes in my one-on-ones, you may ask somebody, hey, like, where are you at on the change curve with this?
Yeah.
They might say, I'm down at the bottom. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The rest of the things that we're going to talk about in our one-on-one today, we're not talking about. Let's talk about that. How do we help that?
That's a good input to talk about and ask, where do you?
Yeah. There is, a story that I was told that, a leader had the change curve as a big poster in their office, and they'd leave it up, and then they would just use that as a point in time to ask people. And I think that's really important, because then again, it keeps you very focused and grounded as a leader that where you need to help, because not everybody's going to be in that same spot. And I think this idea or fallacy that some leaders fall into is that we're going to get everybody to move at the same pace at the same time, and everyone's going to feel the same. And all that is a setup for failure for you, but even more importantly for the team that you're leading. And so you just have to be that adaptable, and think about that.
Yeah. Now visual is really good. It reminds me of going to the doctor, right?
Level.
Yeah.
How are you feeling today on a pain?
How are you feeling?
Yeah. No, that's really good. You could actually use that. It's kind of funny. Yeah. So.
No. Now, Shane, so thank you so much for sharing. I think it was great to go a little bit deeper on this subject, because there's so much to learn, with leadership development and just leadership and how to become a better leader. And in this industry, it's, we have different sizes of organization, right? So it's you have to be flexible, adaptable, and you have to be open-minded to become this better leader.
Yeah. Well, and it's, again, I'll put a plug in for the podcast. And this is why leadership is a topic that it doesn't matter the size of your organization. Let's just go back to what we just talked about. If you have someone that is not feeling well about a change, it doesn't matter the size of your company, right? So your leadership skills and the things that you've learned and tried to understand and have experienced to be able to help that person, they apply across. And so, I think we're all incomplete, as leaders for sure. And it's really, really important that, we find people that we can connect to, and then things that we connect to on our own, whether it's podcasts or reading or, there's such a multitude of things out there today, but everybody can find what resonates best with them. So thank you for your service to our industry. And I appreciate you continuing to share the good message about leadership.
Check out what Toby Cornell, she's the president at Groover & Associate, when I asked her what personal values guide your leadership style. What about your personal values? What guides you and your leadership style here?
I always try to go with honesty first. That's what I think. You can never go wrong with being honest. And so that is one of my personal values, I think, that I want to lead with, being humble, being kind, because I want to be treated with kindness. So I want to treat others the same way, treat people with respect, and hoping that will, inspire them, and also make sure that you never give up, like making sure that the group that you're working with has a never give up attitude. So I try and lead by example and by positivity, and a little bit of humor. I try to crack some jokes. I can't help it. That's my personality, so that comes out a lot too.
I like that. So it's like the female version of the dad jokes, I'm sure.
That's right, exactly. Oh, it's bad. They're the mom jokes. I don't know.
The mom jokes. That's good. We should start writing them down. Check out what Rob Brunson, he's the VP of Sales at Marketing at Wallich Electronic Sales, when I asked him what personal values guide your leadership style. So what about personal values? What is guiding you with your leadership style?
Yeah. So for me, it's number one, I'm always going to do what I say I'm going to do. Right. So if I come to you and I say, hey, I'm going to do this for you by this day, we're going to get it done. You can trust me. I'm a good listener, or at least I try to be. I don't take myself too seriously. I think oftentimes people who take themselves very seriously, it's hard to build relationships with people like that. So I think you have to let your guard down a little bit, be fun, be able to communicate, understand that, hey, it's okay to joke around and have a little bit of fun sometimes. And that ultimately allows you to build relationships. I've never met someone who takes themselves very seriously, who has a lot of friends. Right. So that's one of the things that's really important to me as well. And then, I think just my desire to learn and to read has really helped me. I mean, I'm an avid book reader, listen to a lot of podcasts, and I just try to soak in all that information. And obviously, you have your own opinions on these things, but it's good to hear different perspectives all the time, and then say, okay, I agree with that. I don't agree with that. That's interesting. Let me explore that a little bit more. But just all those things.
I like it. What do you listen or find books or podcasts that's outside of the industry? What is it 50-50 or is it 100% within the industry? How do you get the
So very rarely is it actually in the industry.
Yeah.
I'm a big history buff, right? So I think you can learn a lot from figures in history, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's the founding fathers, generals of war, people like Mother Teresa or Gandhi or other yogis, out there. I think there's a lot of people that you can learn from that are not directly tied to the electronics industry, and you can apply some of that logic and say, okay, if you can be successful, saying British government, we're not doing this anymore, we're going to start our own country. That's a lot harder leadership than running an electronics firm, right?
Yeah.
Or, managing troops during World War I, World War II. That's a lot more difficult than what we've kind of got it easy. So when you look at their leadership styles, again, sometimes you agree with it, sometimes you don't, but being able to get those different perspectives with people who had a lot harder leadership jobs than you do can provide a lot of insight and information on what you can do to be a better leader.
I like it. So I like inside and outside of the industry. I listen to a lot of marketing SaaS actually podcast, which has nothing to do, right? Because they're selling like maybe one product, maybe with features and how they do outreach and stuff. It gives inspiration on saying, okay, let me just look at it from a different angle of how can we actually bring marketing or B2B marketing to the industry.
Right. And see, what's interesting for me is, I'm extremely fortunate in the sense of, I have Mark Motzinger and Emmett Ellis, who've been in the industry for 45 years. So, this is a biased opinion, but I have the two best mentors that anyone could have in the electronic industry.
Yeah.
Right. So in many ways, and maybe this is not the right way to think about it, I don't need to go outside of that, right? I have Mark, I have Emmett that I can lean on for advice. Because in 45 years, it's 90 years between the two of them. They see a lot, and those guys are both very different people. So being able to apply that, and then, some of my principals that I have, they're awesome people. And, I lean on them for leadership, and they coached me up over the last 6 years. And I'm very thankful for them. We have really good principals, and I have a really good management foundation with Mark and Emmett that I'm just in a really blessed situation to have people like that around me who are willing to teach me these things. So I kind of get a little flavor of both. But in my free time, I'm definitely seeking things outside just because, to be honest, that's just what I'm interested in. I'm a huge history buff. So I'm drawn to that.
It's good for you, right? You have to be a human, right? It's not like you can only live in this little world here. So
I could. I don't know if that would, my hair would be a little crazier than it is today if I did that. So.
Listen to Mary Ellen Staggs. She's the Director of Marketing Communication at Sega Electronics. This is what she answered when I asked her, what personal values guide your leadership style? So I think you already touched a little bit on this as well, because I want to know your personal values that guide your leadership style. So you already are touching a little bit on it, but
I think being authentic
is
probably most important to me. I think when you assume a management position, you have a voice of leadership, you might feel you need to behave a certain way, or have to carry yourself a little bit differently. Maybe you feel like you're supposed to be more stern or regimented. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. For me, that would feel false. So I'm goofy sometimes, right? And I'd rather my team know I'm goofy sometimes.
Yeah.
I am not always going to know the answers, and I don't want to lie to you and say I know the answers.
Yeah.
I don't know all the answers. Now I'm willing to make decisions, which I think is also part of being a leader
Yeah.
and a good leader. And sometimes those decisions are tough, right? But to me, it's all part of that authenticity and just being really who you are.
Yeah.
And being honest. And if I don't know something, I'm going to be transparent about it.
Yeah.
So to me, authenticity would be first and foremost,
I like it. So
kind, empathetic, like all those other,
now you like
other
listing all of it.
words, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just one thing or one skill. I get it. Oh, yeah.
It's not. But if I didn't believe in what I was doing and I didn't enjoy what I was doing, that would come through. Everyone knows when I have a bad day. Like they are like, oh, Mary Ellen's having a bad day, right? So
that door. No.
but isn't that better that they know than me pretending to smile my way through and like
right? Yeah. You're not, it's not
honest.
Grandma.
So,
yeah. All right. We all
right?
That's another side of everything that is shining.
Right. Now, if every day I come in having a bad day, then it's clear that maybe I'm not doing what I should be doing anymore. And then that to me tells me something different. But I love what I do. I love the people I work with. And hopefully they know.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they know. Come on. With what you have accomplished, come on. They know.
Thank you.
I think it's also shines through how a team, right? How you perform as a team. That shines as well of kind of accomplishment.
And I'm so proud of them. I don't know if Sager would be as well branded in the market if it wasn't for these 4 individuals and the 5 of us working together and then collaborating across other departments in the organization. I mean, I don't think we would have our spot as well defined.
No.
If we didn't have that.
Awesome.
And that's the business side of it, right? Of course, that's critical, but.
Listen to Don Ackery. He's the CEO at Waldom Electronics. When I asked him, what personal values guide your leadership style? So it's already tied in a little bit here, but I wanted to ask you as well, what is your personal values that guide your leadership style?
Well, it starts, and it's been this way, again, I've been asked, I'll say that type question for a lot of years. I look at it, number one, I try not to ask anything of anybody that I'm not willing to do myself.
Yeah.
And it's a cliche, but lead by example. So, if it's, if we want people to be back in the office a little more, after COVID, it's like, okay, then I need to be in the office more.
Yeah.
And I need to lead by example and be there and, and do what it takes in order to show them that, hey, look, I'm not asking them to do anything that I wouldn't do myself.
Yeah.
So I think that's a basis of my, I'll say leadership style. It starts there. I also believe in giving very direct feedback and direct with respect. But I found early in my career, I had a tendency to try to, I'm going to use the term sugarcoat, feedback, all right, and paint a picture, and it made things worse.
Yeah.
So now I'm very direct.
Yeah.
And again, I try not to do it in a disrespectful, it's not personal. It's, hey, this is not working, or it's not working as well as we would like. Yeah. And here's my feedback. Here's what I think, and that seems to, I'll say, be appreciated by most, not everybody. It's a little startling when somebody's new that you work with. But I think, my leadership style, there's a transparency, I guess, is the word that's used more today.
Yeah.
But that clear, direct feedback. And then obviously the ethical aspect of it. In the business world, I think all of us and all of our companies expect us to operate with a high, ethics and decision making. But, I'm talking about things about, being honest all the time, even when it's bad news. And it's just, hey,
Yeah.
Nope. Here's what it is. It goes back to giving that feedback. So I think those are the factors that I'll say influence the way that I lead.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, because with the whole leadership style, to be a good leader, to tell the truth, but also be open to accept, right, when somebody is telling you what's working, what's not working. And it's not easy, right, to not take it personal. Let's just be honest. I don't.
Oh yeah. No, we're human.
Yeah, right.
We're human.
Yeah. But you have to you have to take it aside and saying, okay, it's not, it's not personal. And that's a skill set by itself, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I find myself a lot using the term, and I use it in a lot of presentations internal with the groups that I lead, and I put a pair of shoes up on the screen with me, and it's like, okay, guys, I want you to try to look at it this way: put yourself in the other person's shoes. All right, and I will go in and again, that's a good way for me to understand that perspective and understand a disconnect, especially when it comes to communication. But I'm just trying to think back of the things that I hear myself saying when I'm in meetings with my team. It doesn't matter which job, which company I work for. The whole, hey, let's trade shoes here. Let me look at it from your perspective. You look at it from mine.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like it. You don't want to miss Walter Tobin. He's the CEO, EVP, Electronics Representative Association, the EIA, when I asked him, what personal value guide your leadership style? So what about your personal values, right? What guides your leadership style on that part?
Well, I'm going to kind of sound old-fashioned here. I think that certainly honesty with people.
Yeah.
It's an old trait, but it's never goes out of fashion. To be honest with people, to be open with people, to have your own personal integrity, and your word is your bond. Do what you say you're going to do. Follow up. If you say you're going to do something, then do it. I think respect. Treat people on your team with respect. They'll know if they're being treated with respect and with dignity. And the fact that you may be the supervisor or the leader doesn't mean that anybody in the organization doesn't deserve respect and dignity for what they do.
Yeah.
I think fairness, to be fair with people. Again, if people make mistakes, to show them where the mistake was made or decision was maybe not the right decision, and encourage them to learn from that. How could we have done that better? I think humor. I use humor a lot in my life and in my day-to-day interactions with people. And I think people, there's a time when you can use humor, and there's a time when you should not use humor. But I think humor sometimes can disarm maybe a sensitive discussion, and maybe sometimes self-depreciating humor shows confidence in yourself as a leader, but it also shows people around you a human side of you, in that you're approachable. And I think some tough love. Sometimes in giving feedback, if it can be constructive criticism, I think you need to deliver that in a very sensitive way, but yet get the message across that, I'm doing this for your own good. I'm going to tell you why things weren't done properly, or what decision, maybe a better decision could have been made. And I think that sometimes can be tough love. And then I think the last thing is just lead by example.
Yeah. People
look at you and how you conduct yourself, either in a personal setting or a business setting, and they want to be able to. I've always would always want to say, hey, that's my leader, that's my boss, that's my vice president, and be proud of it, and to know that you respect them and are proud to be on that team. I think that's something that's earned and not by title. In the service, there was a thing that, you salute the rank and not the individual. Yeah. And then eventually you salute the individual first and not the rank, because you get to know that person. You're really saluting him or her as your superior officer, but you're really saluting them as a person. So I think that it's kind of like old school stuff. There's no faking it. There's no faking sincerity. There's no faking honesty and integrity. And it's something that you work hard to get, and sometimes it's easily lost.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah,
you lose it,
yeah.
you ever get it back? I don't know.
No, it takes time to build it, right? And you can lose
Right.
it really fast.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Leadership in Manufacturing podcast. I love that you're listening. Please find us on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast, and be sure to subscribe and rate us. Also, follow our LinkedIn page and Instagram, and check out leadershipinmanufacturing.com for previous episodes, blog posts, and our newsletter. So let's continue this journey together to become better leaders in the electronics industry. Remember, stay curious, keep learning. See you next time.